Hi everyone, and thanks for coming back to watch another video. Today, for a special request, I am making mint and chocolate 冰皮月饼 or mint and chocolate snowskin mooncakes. The first thing I'm going to do is actually make the chocolate ganache filling. Chocolate ganache takes a long time to set and cool, so I'm going to use 1 cup of chocolate chips and half a cup of heavy cream to make my ganache. This is, as I've looked up, the proportions you need for truffles. So once this cools and sets, it should be rather firm, not too hard, like a chocolate bar, so a nice smooth chocolate truffle consistency. So I'm going to take my chocolate chips, I'm going to heat my heavy cream. I heated it in the microwave for a minute. You can boil it if you like on the stove, and then once you have it heated, pour it over the chocolate chips and carefully stir and mix. You want to mix it really well so this way it forms an emulsion, because that's what chocolate ganache is, an emulsion between the chocolate and the heavy cream. So as I mix it, you can see that it's becoming smoother and emulsified and really nice and shiny. So that's a good chocolate ganache. I've managed to not make it super grainy and break up. There we go, a nice smooth ganache, all finished. A couple of lumps here and there. Maybe I could have heated the cream a little higher, but it's okay. Now that I'm done showing off, I'm going to go ahead and set it aside to cool. I'm going to put it in a thinner dish so this way it spreads out more and it cools a little faster. If you are clever and you've got more time, I would actually make the ganache ahead of time, maybe even the night before, so this way it sets really well before you're going to use it. You'll see later on, I didn't do that. I didn't actually give it quite enough time to set right up until the time that I was going to actually start wrapping everything. Next, because I cannot buy it, I actually need to make some cooked glutinous rice flour. You might see some people call it roasted or fried glutinous rice flour, but basically for snowskin mooncakes, there are 2 different kinds of skin you can make. One with cooked glutinous rice flour, which is roasted or pan fried like this, and it makes a nice paste, or you can use the glutinous rice flour and you steam it and you make more of like a rice cake mochi skin consistency. For the sake of speed and also ease, I'm going to go ahead and actually just make the non-rice cake version, which means that I have to actually cook out this rice flour by myself. I can't really buy any near me, although after I actually made this video and recorded it and did everything, I checked on Amazon, and finally they did start selling the pre-cooked glutinous rice flour. So you can bet that the next time I do this, I'm going to buy a couple of those and try that instead. But I hear that supposedly the results from this are not too far off. So I've done it before a couple of times like this, so I'm going to do it again. Here I've got the stove on like medium high, and I just keep stirring the rice flour. You're going to see over time it goes from pure white to sort of off-white. Maybe on the bottom you'll see some of the bits that are turning a little more brown, and that's what's giving it the off-white color. You'll also see over time that it's starting to turn a little less clumpy and a lot drier in the way that it moves, and so that's how I tell that it's done. It's obviously going to smell roasted and toasted. It's also going to have changed color, and you want the vast majority of it to have really changed a bit of color. And there we go. All done. Finally done roasting the rice flour. So all that remains to do is give it a good couple more stirs and then set it aside to cool. Now, my ganache is mostly set, although you're going to see here that it's still very goopy, but I'm going to try to weigh it out. I, again, recommend that you wait till it's much more set than this. I'm wearing gloves also because chocolate is very messy. Chocolate gets everywhere very quickly, so gloves to at least make sure that I'm not having to wash my hands in between every single time that I'm measuring out chocolate. I'm making my filling about 30 to 40 grams for each mooncake. I actually did 40, but I think my molds were a little too small for that much filling, so I would recommend you go maybe 30. Next, I'm going ahead and making the mooncake skin. So again, I don't really have to cook it, I just have to mix it. So I'm going to add 100 grams of the rice flour that I just cooked out today. And then I'm going to add 90 grams of icing sugar or powdered sugar. Sift all of the dry ingredients together so that they're well mixed. Then I'm going to add 30 grams of vegetable shortening. I'm actually making these for a friend and she's vegetarian, so I'm using vegetable shortening. I have seen in some places that you could use lard if that's what you prefer. Now, if you've ever made shortbread or cookies and sometimes you have to rub in the fat into the flour, that's what I'm doing here. I started with this spoon because touching shortening never feels nice. But in any case, rub in the shortening into the flour until it's sort of like a finer, more powdery breadcrumb texture. Now that that's done, I'm going to add the water. So this is also where you would add flavoring to the skin if that's what you want to do. You can also add coloring to the skin. Because I'm making chocolate and mint flavor, I'm actually adding the mint to the skin because the filling is just straight chocolate. So what I did here, because I don't have any peppermint essence, is that the night before I boiled some water and I have lots of dried mint, so I made an infusion of mint into the water. Then I put it in the fridge to chill. Today I measured out how much water I needed, about 1/4 of a cup. I'm not going to use all of it. Actually, you'll see that I ended up using a little too much. So to the water that I took out, I'm also adding a couple of drops of green food coloring to give you that mint green association. But of course, you do you. You could switch it up and make it blue mint for spearmint or peppermint or whatever the case you want to do. So yeah, I did add too much water, and so it was essentially becoming slime. What I did was add more of the cooked out rice flour to try and dry it out and bind it back up again, and it essentially did work. I was more or less happy after a couple of more additions of rice flour. You want to try and avoid doing that, so I really recommend not adding too much water. Just do a little bit under a tablespoon at a time until you get a nice dough. It should be soft, pliable, it shouldn't be super sticky. It will be a little sticky, but not super crazy. So here I'm weighing out how much skin to use. So the appropriate ratio, quote unquote, for mooncakes is that you have 2 parts filling to 1 part skin. So this way the skin is nice and thin around the filling. This holds no matter which kind of mooncake you make. FYI, there are tons of different kinds of mooncakes, and later on I hope to actually make a video showing you guys a whole bunch of different kinds of mooncakes that I make yearly. So here I'm scooping up a ball of ganache. I did go back and roll up the ganache so that it was a nice ball to pick up, and I'm going to put that in the middle of the skin and just cover it. There's no really crazy trick to wrapping up the fillings in this particular skin because it is very pliable, and I am, as you can see, making very small mooncakes. The mold that I'm using can only hold about 50 or 60 grams, so these are very small mooncakes. As you can see here, this mold, again, too small and a whole bunch of it squidged out. But hey, the end result's mooncake doesn't look too bad. A bit of the impression is lost, but it's okay. So again, measuring out how much skin and then just roll it around, press it out. I found out that pressing it into some cooked out rice flour helped with the stickiness issue and thinning out the skin as opposed to in my hands, because in my hands it's warm. It's a warm day today also. So that also melts whatever shortening is in there and makes it a little more sticky. So wrap it up, roll it in some more rice flour again, and then press it in the mold. There we go. This one I didn't have squidge all over the place, and it didn't come out too bad. Again, lost a bit of the impression, but that's okay. So I actually made quite a few, and they didn't come out too bad. Here's a nice close-up shot. Now, on one of my less fortunate ones, I'm showing you guys to cut it in half. You would chill it a little bit more than this first, but I didn't really have the time to wait to chill it to show you guys. So here you go, the nice ganache filling, a relatively decent skin, and when you taste these with the amount of mint that I put in, it's cooling but not too sharp over the chocolate. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you again for watching.